All right, guys, this week on the podcast, we asked Chad Haleski of Get More Game Recovery, which shot is better for recovering a whitetail, a shoulder shot or a gut shot? And we're not advocating for either one of these because neither of them are a great shot. As you know, if you've been bow hunting long enough, mistakes in the woods happen, and if you had to miss, which one is a better miss and which one gives you better odds of recovering that buck? Let's get into it.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Is a shoulder shot better than a gut shot?
If you call me, if you hit it in the guts, I'm coming. If you hit it in the shoulder, I'm probably not coming.
Okay.
If that answered your question.
Yeah, it did.
So, my biggest thing, shoulders with some of the stuff anymore. And we've got, I don't want to say a fad, but, the mechanical to fixed blade, broadhead kind of discussion at this point. And I don't know if people are trying to prove a point shooting through the shoulders. When I grew up, there was no crossbows, when I started hunting, I should say. So I remember, back in the day when these arrows were shooting 190, 200 feet per second, and you were shooting big old aluminum logs out there,
Yeah.
it seemed like every week. Yeah. It's like every week, between a relative, a buddy, somebody, you were out chasing a shoulder shot around because you just didn't get through. So it was always kind of ingrained in us to, stay back a little bit, get into the lungs. Obviously, back then we didn't have dogs. We didn't know anybody. It wasn't that popular to use a dog to track. But now, if you hit that hard shoulder, you hit that front leg, and the arrow stops, you're kind of, it's done at that point, But if you get a pass through, one lung, liver, gut, we call it a trifecta, that's a dead deer. You just got to give it the time. And, normally if that deer is not pushed, that deer is dead within, a lot of them don't make it 500 yards, and they're dead in their first bed.
Well, it seems like you talked about fat a little bit. And I mean, I don't even want to get into the fixed versus mechanical debate, but it seems like everyone is in this high FOC, this heavy arrow, this, wherever you land on, I guess that side of the fence is kind of irrelevant. But it seems like to me, folks think that, well, one, I'm shooting a super heavy, or I'm shooting a 600 grain arrow, or I'm shooting a crossbow, I can break through these shoulders. I've seen so many comments from folks, oh, I can bust shoulders. Oh, I break shoulders. I'm like, I'm not saying you can't. I would never say, you should miss hitting someone on the shoulder or miss hit one in the guts. But those things happen. If I had to miss 2 inches left or 2 inches right, or I'm going for I'd rather be in the guts than the shoulder. It just seems like so many folks just don't agree with that.
Shoulders on the outside of the rib cage. If you can get inside the rib cage, you're in good spot. You know what I mean? You have to poke through that shoulder and get in the rib cage to do any damage. So that's the way I look at it.
And there's a big pile of goodies behind that shoulder. I get that. But you're going to do the same effect, like you said. I'd rather have a deer with two holes running away that I poked a hole in on both sides than something that I just hit real hard. Do you keep any data or any sort of, maybe anecdotally in your head, of kind of recovery percentages on different types of hits? So shoulder to liver to guts to a combo, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, rough. There's some guys that get really into it. When it comes busy season, I don't have time to write it all down. I've had guys tell me you should write notes and chapters and books, and I'm just trying to get something to eat between tracks sometimes. And I always tell people that on a gut shot, I would say that as long as we don't run into property stops or a coyote pushing it, or those are two big things. But like a gut shot, I would say that 90% of them deer are recoverable. But like you're talking, and when I say a gut shot, I'm talking like a stomach. Maybe hopefully catching something else, a liver or a straight intestine shot is a whole nother animal. Shoulder shots, like I said, I would say that are probably, I always tell people we find 1 out of 10, but it's probably 1 out of 20.
God, that is so low.
Yeah. And that's the people calling me. You know what I mean? Because so these guys that are punching through the shoulder, well, I killed it. Well, yeah, but the data I'm looking at is the ones that call me. You know what I mean? So when they're calling me, they can't find it. So the chances of finding it are pretty slim. Because, like you said, there's a pile of goodies behind them front shoulders. So if you poke through them front shoulders, you're probably not needing a dog. You know, the deer's dead. So, but you know them hit back deer. You know, they're the ones that bleed a little ways, 50, 60, 100 yards, and then they quit bleeding. So those are the ones we get called into quite a few times.